Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. All about nutrition from your favorite dietitian. Everything you need to digest in your mind. Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. Making you healthier one bite at a time. With Tony. Woo.
Hello and welcome to the Tips with Tony podcast. I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. I am recording this episode on the weekend of Memorial Day weekend. So whether you live in the United States or not, you're probably listening to this after a weekend. So I thought it might be important to talk about what happens when we overindulge and how to recover from that. Okay, many of you might have spent your entire lives or your entire adulthood eating quote unquote really well Monday through Thursday, Friday, like 3-4 o'clock-ish, then overindulging on the weekend and starting again on Monday. It's a vicious cycle. It's what we call the diet cycle, and you're trapped to this restrict, binge, or this, extreme urgency, rigidity, and quote unquote structure to just have a free for all on the weekends and really just let loose, but ends up bringing you back to feeling like bloated and sick and tired and frustrated and feeling like you need to have control over your eating habits. And I want to teach you how to break free from that. Obviously, it's not as simple as just listening to this episode. However, I do find that you will get a lot of helpful tips just from listening. And then, of course, putting things into practice is ultimately how you're going to break the cycle. Now, I will be sharing a little bit more at the end, but if you want extra help with this and you want some accountability and support, then working with a coach is ultimately how you're going to get there a lot faster, a lot smoother, a lot easier. And we are actually accepting new clients right now, me and my team. I'm super excited. I have incredible registered dietitians on the team. So if you haven't listened to that episode where they kind of introduced themselves and talked a little bit more about their background and why they decided to join the Tips with Tony team and why I decided to hire them, I highly encourage you to go back to there. But I'll explain more of that at the end. But for right now, let's just talk about what happens if you overindulge on the weekend and how do you recover? How do you recover in a way that's not dieting? That's not restricting calories, that's not skipping meals, that's not cutting out carbs, that's not quote unquote only drinking water or doing a detox or some form of restriction or excessively exercising. Or hopefully you're not purging, but that is possible. And I also don't think people recognize that purging comes in many forms. So purging it doesn't actually have to be self-induced vomiting. It could be exercising like crazy, extreme restriction, diet pills. Unfortunately, a lot of people, and I'm guilty of this in high school, I took like fat loss pills, which by the way, just make you poop. And then all that purging does is create room for more food. And it never really gets to the root of what it is that you need to do, which is find balance in your eating habits. So just be mindful that your diet brain is going to trick you and tell you that you need to restrict, you need to skip meals, you need to cut out carbs, you need to go on a diet. You're going to feel, it's like a sense of urgency. Be careful about that, okay? And also remember that we know how that story ends, right? You've done that before, right? It just brings you right back to binging, overindulging, feeling bloated again, feeling tired, feeling stuffed, and basically brings you right back to what you're experiencing right now after overindulging on the weekend, right? So if you want a different ending, you need to take a different action. Today, I'm going to teach you what you can do instead. Here are 3 things that you can do instead of going back to restriction and purging and self-sabotage and hatred and dieting and just the whole big mess that really just keeps you stuck there and never actually helps you to progress outside of that. All right, so here are 3 things you can do. Number 1, forgive yourself. Okay, we all do it. We've all done it. I did it every weekend for like years and years and years, okay? Replace any sort of criticism with compassion. Know that you're human, know that you're normal, know that it happens, and also know that navigating the weekends tends to be really difficult, especially now that the world's starting to open up again. You have social situations, and if you're working on healing your relationship with food, it's gonna be uncomfortable. It's going to be challenging. So be patient with yourself. And also, I'll say, we tend to go negative really quickly, but acknowledge the moments you're proud of. I'm sure this weekend there was maybe 1 or 2 things that you said no thank you to. Maybe you encouraged yourself to go for a walk when normally you would just kind of lay around and then end up over snacking. I'm sure there's something that you did that you're dismissing that you need to acknowledge. So I want you to forgive yourself and acknowledge moments that you're proud of, okay? The second thing I need you to do is to get curious. We can't expect to make changes if we're never observing, being introspective and kind of seeing what's going on, right? If we just continue to go through the motions and expect change, we're never going to get anywhere. So you have to get curious. Why did it happen? What steps could you have taken differently to have changed the outcome? Did you go to a party and you maybe skipped breakfast, or you skipped lunch, or you didn't have a snack before? Did you drink too much alcohol? And maybe you kind of got caught up in the moment, right? Did you stay in a conversation? And this is super common. Did you stay in a conversation that you really didn't want to be in? Like you probably should have excused yourself from the table, but because you kind of stayed there and you were really uncomfortable, you somehow overate on the chips and dip. Like you realize it later. I find social situations to be like sometimes drinking too much could be like because you feel socially awkward, or you end up eating too much because you feel super anxious. Or it could be the opposite. Maybe you got caught up in the fun of things. But in that situation, I would just acknowledge it as you had fun and let's move on, So get curious. And the last thing is the most important thing, is to set up a plan, okay? Now, based on what you know didn't work for you or hasn't been working for you, that's telling, right? That's gonna help you to create action items that actually do. So instead of going to a party hungry, make sure you maybe have a mini meal beforehand, a snack beforehand, make sure it's balanced. If you don't really know what you're going into, maybe take advantage of using that plate method. So half the plate, non-starchy veggies, a quarter protein, a quarter starch, utilize that either before the party, or if you're able to go there at the party, even if they're serving maybe something that is more indulgent, like macaroni and cheese, for example. What is this weekend? Like Memorial Day, like hot dogs, mac and cheese, potato salad, those sort of things. Like you could still probably navigate, and you can have foods, indulgent foods, without overindulging, right? So you could have still put a quarter of your plate as the mac and cheese, right, as your starch. The protein, you could have done a burger. And then maybe they only had lettuce and tomato to go on the burger, but you made a salad out of it and you filled half your plate with that, right? So that's an example of something that, maybe now going forward, like even if they don't have the most nutritious options or the most balanced options, you can still find balance within that. And it's a lot easier to do if you make sure you're fed beforehand. Otherwise, you're likely to overindulge. All right. If you end up drinking, you drink too much this weekend, one thing I would recommend you do is predetermine your limit. Like predetermine and knowing that like once you go above 3 drinks, it's too much for you. So drink water in between, or maybe that you do better when you do something like a spiked seltzer. It doesn't affect you as much, but versus like when you have like a harder drink like I don't know, like a martini, or what's that one with the island? Oh my God, Long Island iced tea. It has like all the things in it. Like maybe you're better off with something more simple, like whatever it is. But either way, kind of predetermine what your limit is and make sure you're drinking lots and lots of water. And then lastly, instead of engaging in conversations that make you feel uncomfortable, excuse yourself and move away from the chips, right? Change where you are. Changing location is super helpful, but if you're right in front of the chips, you hate the conversation you're in, that hand grabbing is super easy, and we want to, probably, or just sit somewhere where you're not right in front of the food. And there's many things of a plan that you can come up with. And that's where working with a registered dietitian can be super helpful, because the plan of action is going to vary based off of where you are, who you're with, when you're going, the time of day. There's so many variables. And working with a dietitian you can really talk through that on one call. In one call, you could have a clear plan of action. And if things don't go as planned, I love my clients, they say it's like having a dietitian in their pocket. You have to app that comes with the program. You message your dietitian. You kind of say, you know what, this didn't go as planned. What do you suggest? And they help you through it. It's really hands-on, lots of accountability, lots of support. And the more I think that you have more touch points with the dietitian and the more accountability you have, the better off you're going to be. So I'm going to leave you with this. Actually, before I leave it with you, let's just do a quick recap, okay? So if we want to stop overindulging on the weekends, we have to recover better. Okay? And when we recover better, chances are it's going to prevent us from overindulging. So you see the cycle that we're in. So remember to forgive yourself, replace criticism with compassion, get curious, explore why it happened or why it didn't happen. Then lastly, set up a plan. And so if you need help with setting up a plan, we have a team of dietitians. Both Mary, Rose, and Casey are incredible humans and incredible at what they do, and I'm just obsessed with them. And I'm so excited. They have clients already working with them. They're thriving. It's incredible. I'm still involved in the process. We still have your initial call together. We have your midway call. We have the final call at the end of the 6 months. The group calls, I'm still hosting them as of now. You can still message me at any time. So I'm highly involved in the process, but they're kind of like your main point of contact, depending on who I think you're a better fit with, which is why we have what's called a discovery call to make sure, one, you're a good fit for the program, and then two, to see who I think you'd vibe with better, because I do believe that connection really helps with change. It really, really does. So what we will help you do in this program is teaching you to practice balance every single day. Okay? The more you practice balance every single day, that urgency to jump to extremes will weaken and your relationship with food will strengthen. And that's how you can break the cycle of overindulging on the weekends, overindulging during the day, overindulging in general, and instead learn to indulge, not overindulge, learn to indulge when you want to, when you choose to, and in a way that you feel confident about instead of feeling sluggish, tired, bloated, fatigued, stuck, frustrated, all of those things. Our job is to help you feel free, feel in charge of your food choices, in charge of your body, and finally be able to be broken away from that vicious cycle. All right. So if that sounds like you, go to www.tipswithtony.com/coaching. Watch the video about the program. If anything said there stands out to you, resonates with you, fill out the application below it. Once you fill out the application, you will get an email from me and you'll be prompted to schedule your discovery call. You just select a date that you think that's on my calendar, it's available on my calendar. We have a call together. And honestly, once you do that, you're so much closer to making change. I think sometimes reaching out for help is the hardest part. And once you do that, you're going to feel so good and so free. And I'm so excited. And I'm already proud of you. The fact that you're listening to this already shows that you are willing to make changes, you're willing to learn, and you're opening up your mind to the idea that diet culture has probably been super toxic and not the answer for you, right? It's like that toxic boyfriend that we go back to and then we realize why? Why did I settle for that for so long? Oh my gosh, there's just so many better things out there, so many better people out there, right? So that's what diet culture is. It's a lie. It's a lie. It just keeps you trapped. And when you're finally open to breaking free of that and realizing that you actually don't have to diet to be happy, healthy, and successful, oh God, it's just incredible. So that's what we will help you do, and creating an individual plan for you. So if you're excited, go to www.tipswithtony.com/coaching to watch the video about the program and apply today. And I look forward to chatting with you on your discovery call. Thank you so much for listening. If you're new to the podcast, definitely hit that subscribe button. New episodes now come out every Tuesday and Thursday. So I know the Thursday episodes, I pre-recorded them. So at the end, I might say that they come out Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. That is no longer happening. I have decided to take care of me a little bit better, create some space and energy to do some other things. And I love podcast recording, but the 3 episodes a week was getting pretty demanding, and not one that I was willing to continue to keep up with. So I feel much better going back to 2 a week. It feels really good. I hope you're enjoying them. I'm always open to feedback, so please don't hesitate to message me on Instagram at tips_with_Tony with an I, or email me tipswithtony@gmail.com. All right. That is it for me today. Thank you so much for listening. As always, I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time.